In other news, Christian businesses in Indiana are facing tough choices after the recent firestorm over the religious freedom law. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. Here's John.
Thanks, Pat. Media scrutiny over Indiana's religious freedom law may have died down, but Christian business owners there still face a big choice. Will they be forced to choose between their faith or their livelihood? David Brody brings us that story from Indianapolis.
Walk into a business these days in Indiana and you may see these welcoming signs about serving everyone. But don't be misled. This isn't just famous Hoosier hospitality on display. It's a show of support against the religious freedom law that gay activists felt was discriminatory.
Well, we never really thought this law was going to be that controversial.
Micah Clark played a major role in the original law's passage, which was intended to provide additional religious liberty legal protections to those who were sued. He says the updated version adds sexual orientation protection beyond anything provided by the state. That means Christian businesses may not be able to use this new Religious Freedom Reformation Act known as RFRA.
Yeah, it's not only going to be harder in certain places, you won't even be allowed to use RFRA in certain places. They've basically taken a map of Indiana and cut parts out of it where cities have these ordinances and said RFRA cannot apply in these cases.
What's the end game then for the gay and lesbian?
They simply want to put sexual orientation and gender identity in our civil rights code as if sexual behavior is the same as a benign genetic trait like skin color. I don't see sexual behavior that way.
The controversial Indiana law, written right here at the State House in Indianapolis, has a lot of Christian business owners wondering what their next move is going to be as they try to navigate the worlds of discrimination and religious liberty.
We don't want to discriminate anybody.
Casey Sampson and his Christian family own a leather shop north of Indianapolis. He's not quite sure what to expect under the new law. One thing's for sure, though, he's not going to sacrifice his Christian beliefs.
I don't want to put something that specifically is contrary to my belief, because I have to hand make that. You know, when I'm stamping into this belt that God is great, and then somebody else wants to come in and, you know, said Satan is great, that's going to hurt me.
That's personal for you.
It's very personal.
But now, if Casey says no, this religious liberty law may not give him further protections in court if he's sued.
For a family-owned business, this could be potentially very detrimental to this business.
You know,
potentially, if a lawsuit starts.
It could. If a lawsuit came up and the court ruled against our favor, it would devastate our family business.
This whole situation has made the family rethink how they do business.
We've honestly put a lot of thought into not doing any custom orders anymore, and that'll hurt business.
Indiana's reputation has taken a hit as well. It's gotten so much bad press that the state's Economic and Tourism Agency hired a PR firm this week to encourage businesses to come back to Indiana. Right now, the only known commodity is frustration on both sides of this hotly contested issue. David Brody, CBN News, in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Pat, as David just said, it's a hotly contested issue, but it's also a closely watched issue.
You know, the amazing thing, there was a federal law passed. Bill Clinton signed it into law when he was president, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It was not controversial because essentially it said that the freedom of conscience guaranteed by the First Amendment. We now have a candidate whose name is Hillary Clinton who wants to do away with the First Amendment, at least part of it. And this whole thing is shocking. But the First Amendment primarily guaranteed freedom of religion. It was just secondarily freedom of the press. That just said press, and that was all it said. And speech. But speech and press were secondary to our religious beliefs. And Congress shall pass no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's the First Amendment. And then it starts talking about speech or press. But the primary function is to preserve our religious freedom, because our religious freedom is the foundation of our democracy. Without it, we do not have any rights, because our rights come from God, not from the king, not from the parliament, not from the Duma, not from any legislative body. They come from God. Now, this bunch of gays, what they have done is single out, you know, for example, there'll be a city and there'll be 5 bake shops. 4 out of the 5 will do wedding cakes for anybody that wants them. Gay, lesbian, Muslim, Hindu, anybody. They'll do cakes. One little company says, no, we're Christian, we won't do homosexual wedding cakes. Okay. So they sue that one and force that one, because the idea now is not tolerance, it is conformity. They're going to make you go along with their lifestyle, whether you like it or not. Now, that's not freedom, ladies and gentlemen. That is totalitarian coercion. And that's what those people want. Liberals are not liberal. They are totalitarian socialists. They want the government to force everybody into their mold. So just keep that in mind. Now,